The Jedi is probably the best episode of The Mandalorian to this point. It's confident, assured, visually striking, and willing to look beyond the nostalgia for the original trilogy that has defined so much of the series to this point. Of course, The Jedi is still steeped in fan service. There are lots of awkward references to the lore and to the expanded universe that don't really mean anything on their own. Hearing Ahsoka Tano say the words Grand Admiral Thrawn in The Jedi probably scratches the same itch for certain fans as hearing Bo-Katan say Ahsoka Tano in The Heiress.
Say my name.
But the weight given to those words makes The Mandalorian feel like a chain of forced continuity references to other bits of Star Wars. It is a slight problem that Ahsoka Tano's debut in a live-action Star Wars show is basically motivated by continuity. Still, it's a small complaint, and it's not really worth dwelling on. Not least, because there's an increasing sense that The Mandalorian is at least expanding the scope of its nostalgia and fanservice beyond the original trilogy. Everyone loved those movies, but it might be time for Star Wars-related media to take a break from exhausted elements like Tatooine and Boba Fett to embrace greater possibilities. The Jedi draws rather heavily from the prequel era, most obviously in bringing the character of Ahsoka Tano, who was introduced in the Clone Wars, into live action for the first time. The child is given a name and an origin story, which ties it back to the Jedi Temple massacre and Coruscant in Revenge of the Sith. As with the details of Grand Moff Gideon's plan at the edges of the siege, there are welcome elements of The Last Jedi creeping into the edge of the frame. Notably, the suggestion that maybe the Jedi weren't right after all, and maybe they deserved to fall. More than that, The Jedi is comfortably the best directed piece of Star Wars media since The Last Jedi, with some of its framing and composition directly recalling Rian Johnson's work. The Jedi is written and directed by Dave Filoni, which makes sense. Filoni was responsible for the Clone Wars, and so co-created, guided, and developed a lot of the character of Ahsoka Tano. Filoni was also the director who helped usher The Mandalorian into being, directing the show's first episode. Perhaps free of the burden of defining the look and feel of an entire live-action series, Filoni is more adventurous than The Jedi. Filoni has a lot of experience in animation, and The Jedi shares some of that heightened and stylized sensibility. When Bo-Katan mentioned that Corvus was a forest planet in The Heiress, it suggested something like Endor from Return of the Jedi, to match the time spent on Tatooine in The Marshal, and the visit to the Hoth-like ice world in The Passenger. However, Corvus is much more striking and creative than that description would suggest. Indeed, Corvus looks more like the strange and surreal worlds of the prequel trilogy, or those created for the Clone Wars. Filoni uses lighting and fog very effectively, to points where the Jedi occasionally appears to unfold in silhouette. He brings an animator's eye to the episode, notable in the literally more animated droid work, which relies more heavily on computer-generated imagery than prop work. Fittingly, Ahsoka herself appears almost unreal, a cartoon character who has somehow wandered into the physical world. Like Johnson on The Last Jedi before him, Filoni's drawing heavily on the samurai films of Akira Kurosawa. This makes sense, given how indebted Lucas's original Star Wars was to the Hidden Fortress. There are strong shades of Throne of Blood and Yojimbo to The Jedi, particularly in its use of fog and mist. Fittingly, the climax of the episode features a cowboy standoff in the front and a samurai battle in the back. In conclusion, The Jedi expands the scope of The Mandalorian, deepening and broadening its nostalgia.